Thank you all. Can you hear me? Yes. Well, if that changes, please let me know. Some things which characterize creativity, even if it isn't of the big C variety. Number one, creative individuals are childlike. They're playful. They ask childlike questions. They're willing to be ridiculous and be ridiculed. But paradoxically, often when they're young, they have an adult-like seriousness as well. And I think that's because they've already begun to take their discipline and their domain very seriously. I probably wouldn't have emphasized this much 10 or 15 years ago, but now when we are in the Commissioner of Education here, so I can say, when we're in the stranglehold of tests at younger and younger ages with so many consequences, lying when you're no child left behind, race to the top score, childhood is vanishing. Neil Postman worried about this, and David Elkind worried about it 30 years ago, but now it's kind of government policy. Passion and commitment, not words you read a lot. You can read the legislation, you don't see those words very often. Willingness to spend years on something. Thinking beyond one's own mortality. But the other side of that coin is you can't do that about everything. And sometimes you ignore the pain of others, which is not good. And famous stories about Einstein. Einstein didn't wear socks. That was too complicated. And he couldn't believe people had something called shaving cream as well as soap. He said, why two soaps? So he was busy thinking. He once said, I'd like to spend the next 50 years thinking about the nature of light. If you're spending 50 years of light, you can't spend time in ivory, right? Or Nikes. An odd mind, quirky, unusual combination of strengths and weaknesses. And of course, we're much more conscious of this now, as we've begun to learn about special needs, learning disabilities, jagged profiles, unequal intelligences. And creative people, I haven't said this really publicly much before, are less likely to come from the realm of the generalist than from the realm of the specialist. And I have a little metaphor here. That a creative person is more likely to have a laser mind. It's willing to spend years and years on something prior to a breakthrough. The generalist mind, the mind of a political politician or a business person, is more of a spotlight. Kind of is always going 360 degrees. Nothing completely escapes the radar screen. But doesn't have the capacity to focus for long periods of time on one thing. I mean, just think of presidents who are obviously as bright in the traditional sense as Bill Clinton or Barack Obama. They can't know as much as the experts who they bring in, but their job is to know enough not to be fooled. So the searchlights hire the lasers. And it's a big mistake to put a searchlight in charge of laser, or to promote a laser to be a searchlight, because they're very different kinds of minds. And big C creative, with a rare exception like Gardner, who I think was the most important person of the last 1,000 years. It's a big statement to make. Gardner was truly creative in the political realm. And he goes with the Christs and the Buddhas in that school. Large capacity for solitude. You can't be creative if you're in a group all the time. This is very serious today because all of us, even little old me, are connected all the time. And our kids and our grandkids can't walk from one side of the room to the other without, hey, what's up? How's it going? Checking the email, texting, twittering. That's not solitude. That's not 5 years in the Beagle, which is what Darwin did in coming up with the theory of evolution. So I think that The new digital media may be great for small and middle C creativity. I'm skeptical about whether they're going to promote large C. What did Daniel Shore, the great commentator of NPR, says, sincerity is the only thing. If you can fake that, you can fake anything. Here we are in New Jersey with New York and Massachusetts, in Connecticut, and Illinois. They say, Illinois, you're more likely to go to jail if you've been a governor than if you're a murderer. You know, these people may cheat on the income tax, or they may even cheat on their spouses. Picasso certainly did. But there's an unflinching honesty and integrity about the work that they do. And we live in a time where almost everything is pretense and feigning honesty and integrity. That's disastrous. That's a much bigger topic. That's what I'm working on these days. But you can't study someone like Martha Graham or Einstein, who will go to years' pains to make sure things are gotten exactly right, without noticing how they care enormously about the quality of what they do, that can stand the test of time, and that it's worthy to be in a succession. And what did Newton say? He said, if I could see further, it was because I stood on the shoulders of
those who came before
giants. Right?
Giants.
They have a sense, they have the inner tradition, and they have to contribute it, they can't contribute to it if they're fudging data or sneaking things away. So as I say, I identified these things some years ago. I don't think I could have imagined how much more important they are now than 15 years ago when I wrote about this. Preserving a childlike, the importance of passion and commitment, and not short-term earnings, not trying to pass everybody through the same NCLB lens, encouraging time to reflect, introspect, be alone, and telling it the way it is, even if it's going to make other people uncomfortable. In another book, I wrote about lessons that I've learned from studying people who are creative and also people who are leaders. And there are three lessons which every one of us can apply to ourselves, in which we can apply to every young person, offspring, grand offspring, student, former student. One of the wonderful things as we get older is having many former students. And those lessons are reflecting, leveraging, and framing. Reflecting means spending a lot of time thinking about what you're trying to do. Are you getting anywhere? If so, what have you learned? If not, what might you do different? Not all reflecting needs to be alone. In fact, you should get other people's reactions. At Harvard College, we have some of the most impressive young people in the world. But if any of you read the Harvard magazine, which goes to all Harvard alums, the Harvard everybody's Harvard about the overstimulated, over-committed Harvard students. They do their schoolwork, they have massive extracurriculars, and they don't sleep. And a lot of them crash. And so we've introduced in the freshman year what we call reflection sessions, and I'm one of the architects of that. Just giving the kids some time to step back and think. Because the 4 years are going to go by fast. And you really need an nth activity.
I wish they could do that with the activity.
We should give some time to think about your life.